Hello. Today we're going to discuss Azerbaijan, a lesser-known, energy-rich, predominantly Shia Muslim country, and it is located right here between Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Now, I will say, this is not a history lesson. I hate to do this every time, but we are just looking at some pictures here and noting the similarities. The methodology is simple. We have a prescribed group of buildings that we look at from every nation, and we marvel and gawk at the intricate architecture and the similarities that we find therein. So, for example, libraries, museums, educational facilities, forts, castles, palaces, government buildings, schools, jailhouses, etc., etc. Now, I will say some of the photographs may be no longer part of Azerbaijan due to the conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh region, which is a disputed area. In a video I covered about a year or two ago. No longer existing nation of Artsakh, and primarily it's a dispute with Armenia, territorial. So sometimes the borders shift. This was formerly part of the Soviet Union. And actually, oddly enough, this is the place where the very first oil well was constructed. And in fact, in the beginning of the 20th century, Azerbaijan was the world's leading oil producer. Today, I believe some of the more distinctive traditional exports of this place are fine horses and caviar. It was part of the Soviet Union from, I think, 1920 until around 1989. It got its independence in 1991. Got a wide variety of landscapes here. Predominantly Turkish-speaking Azerbaijanis are 9/10 of the country's population, with a sprinkling of Russians and Armenians and some older inhabitants, namely Iranians. In 1901, as I said, Baku, where the first oil wells were drilled, it produced, in 1901, 11.4 million tons of oil, more than even the United States, and actually more than half of the world production. Pretty wild, actually. One thing I found a little interesting is the area, this Trans-Caucasian area, were referred to as Tatars by the Russians, which is kind of funny. So everyone considered each other a Tatar. You have Chinese Tartary and Russian Tatars, but not according to Russians. According to Russians, these were the Tatars. Mongolian Tatars, and that word seems to just pop up everywhere by everyone. But anyway, let's take a little dive now here and see what we can see. But what a beauty. And here, right off the bat, you see a lot of the same things that we see literally everywhere. The columns, the little finials, and what a gorgeous building. What a real beaut. And my lord, just look at that flooring. You know, this is just incredible terracotta work, it looks like. It's just stunning. Looks like a DMT trip, kind of. You know, these little floorboard pieces are funny to me. Sometimes I can't remember where I saw this, but someone was pointing out how it almost looks like little spots where people would stand. Maybe they're linking up. Maybe they're magically linking so they can do some teleportation stuff. Who knows, man? This world is wild. I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it does make you wonder is it just for design, or is there something else going on here? And I wonder what relation this flooring has to the no doubt dome cathedral above it. This picture's great because this is one of their, I guess, signature skyline features, this building, this sort of teardrop building, but just the juxtaposition between this and this old world splendor. You know, I mean, even though this looks like a marvel of modern architecture, I'm sure, I don't think personally it compares to the class and the elegance that I see here in the foreground. But that's just my hot take. And this would be not out of place anywhere in Europe. No, not at all. The old oxidized copper roofing here, the domes, you can see this. You can imagine this being in Austria or anywhere in Europe, really. It's a rather blurry photo. I've got a better one. This image here, interesting, just up the streetway, but you can see it's got that mud flood effect that we see everywhere. And I know these are kind of broken record videos, but it's just the due diligence of going through every city, every nation on Earth and finding this. In this one, it's too hard to tell, but you see how the windows here, the top match with the bottom, except this last one. It looks like they kind of bricked it in. I mean, it's too hard to tell with this grainy photograph, but it would make sense. And leading us to believe that this wasn't initially constructed like this, but it kind of settled into the earth, or the earth rose up to meet it, or water rose up and lifted the sediment. That's just what it looks like here, up here in these mountains. Here's another picture from a different angle of that stunner. And my lands, just look at this bad boy. Note the interesting geometry in these rose-type windows. Looks like same shape as those magnetrons, which makes you wonder, don't it? Well, it makes me wonder. What a beauty. What an absolute stunner. Most of the country being Shia Muslim. I imagine most of these are mosques. I'll have more information on that a little bit later. Some of these first ones I didn't do a good job of labeling. This is what the city looks like now. Very modern, actually. Very futuristic. Pretty insane. But even in all this future, we have our little telltale red and white beacon from the old days. The old barbershop pole, lighthouse, red and white, signifying the energy, perhaps. This beauty. These spiral columns, just gorgeous. Also, a little bit of a slanted effect here. Looks like the foundation dips down somewhat. And there is a dome ceiling for you. Just look at that. That is just intoxicating. It is mesmerizing. It looks like glass tile work. Just incredible. Some usual little shapes here that we see all over the place. Everywhere we've ever been. Wow, look at that beauty. That's great. Great job there, Jack. That grainy stuff out of my face. We only want good pitches. Wasn't true. This one looking like this old mosque here. Not sure if it's still in use. Kind of hard to say, huh? Looks like a bombed out old depleted factory or power plant. Just left down there in urban areas, to decay. Sorry, I'm only skipping these because they're so grainy. You'll find ruins like this out there in the forest there, which are very mysterious. The kind of things you find all over the place. Little octagonal mausoleum here. Composed entirely of brick, right next to this old little graveyard. And this is the palace in Baku, by the way. I know we looked at this earlier, but I forgot to mention that. Here we have a church with a very high steeple. Again, these grainy photographs aren't really doing us many favors, are they? We could do better than that. I don't know if you can see here, this little swastika symbol that we see literally everywhere. On every courthouse in California, all the way over here to Azerbaijan. The old real symbol of energy, as they say, right? That's what we guess. An Armenian church here in Baku. Given the proximity to Armenia, that's not surprising. And this is a mosque and composed entirely of brick. I think that is just so cool. These brick domes. Everywhere you go, folks, it's just brick after brick. This is what we're told is a 7-church monastery, or at least the ruins of it. Looks like she's seen better days. It's just astounding how these old brick buildings are just brick and stone everywhere you go. The size of these block cuts. It just belies a different sort of technology than what we're told that was available to them. Here we see this on this here mosque, the brick red and white, the red and white stripe pattern that we suspect has something to do with energy, simply because that's just used everywhere else in the world. I don't know. Here's no different. This is part of a mosque, somehow. I'm not sure if the majority of these are underground or if these are domes and these are domes of just seen from the exterior. I really don't know. But they are old, folks, and they are made completely of brick. Look at this one here with the entrance submerged. Why would you do that, Why would you intentionally make the door smaller? It seems like this ground was definitely raised up at some point. But again, what do I know, huh? This one's just stunning. I mean, compared to the earthworks in the background, to think that this was sort of made out of that, it's pretty impressive if that's indeed the case. Looks like the walls here are built right up into the dirt. Very impressive. This is a hotel. Well, we're told it's a hotel. I'm sure it's being used as a hotel now. I have a number of questions, though, about this. This almost looks like at one point the whole thing was some sort of a watered terrace. You see the windows down here? Meaning there's a lower floor, possibly like a cistern. I'm not sure, but this whole area looks like it could have been flooded at one point. Or maybe this has all just been raised up. I don't know, but pretty cool hotel. By the looks of things, anyway. This is another little good mud flutter here. This odd foundation. And I wonder how much of this stuff is being torn down or renovated, because, we just are losing this old world stuff at a rapid rate, and it is frankly quite depressing. This one makes me wonder, I wonder if this wall here, since it's all made of this nice masonry brick, including this very old looking lighthouse, is a mosque, of course, modern times. I wonder if this wall was reconstructed and you see how some of the original brick here is around the windows. I wonder if some of this had fallen or collapsed and they rebuilt it using this rougher stone. I'm not sure. It certainly looks that way. It certainly looks like it's been cobbled together from different materials. What do I know, huh? This is the Mosque of the Martyrs. This absolute stunner. The same symbolism that we see everywhere. I know here it's the crescent, but it wasn't always that way. In fact, I don't think even Turkey started using, or Islam even started adapting this symbol until much later in the game, later than many of these buildings were constructed. by my understanding. My very limited understanding, I'll admit. Another old mosque here, brick. Looks like it's made of oxidized copper roofing here. Just a stunner. I hope this video turns out all right. You know, it's been a while, folks. I haven't been able to do one of these in a long time. My setups, basically I had to dismantle it. I don't think anyone cares, but I had to dismantle my whole setup to list my house for sale, and I've been unable to construct a new studio yet, so we're kind of winging it here. I give you something to chew on. Been a long time. Just look at that stained glass work. My lord. Almost looks like an old light bright. Just so beautiful. So many of these parts of the world, just due to cultural differences, are unvisited or, not traveled to, or appear hostile to the average Western person, native Western dweller. So a lot of it we don't get to see in person, and it gets lost in the heyday. This is an old monastery out there in the hills, being overtaken by the wildlife and all that. Beautiful mosque here, area in Baku. And I wonder if this is finished stone or if this is brick with concrete overlay designed to look like stone. I don't know. It kind of looks like a covering here, huh? Because you see the stacked stone here. It almost looks like a veneer covering. Some very dubious foundations down there, as we see everywhere. I mean, and why would Azerbaijan be any different? Of course it wouldn't. Another different view of that mosque. We were looking at it earlier. Look at that intricate brickwork. Man, that is so cool. But there's not many people alive who can do that still, or have the know-how. A little star fort map here to show you what that's all about. Another mosque in Baku. So much more beautiful than this crap around it. Here's old school cathedral in Baku. Absolutely stunning construction that we see all over the world. Yes, folks, it even existed back then. This is from about 1901, I believe, this photograph. And even then, long before Azerbaijan had its independence, long before it even became part of the Soviet Union, you had this stuff going on. So riddle me that, America. I'll bet you can't. Oops, that's Egypt. This is an old fire temple. This area, I believe, was home to one of the world's oldest religions, Zoroastrianism. They would build these fire temples that were constructed around natural gas burning sort of torches. I think this is where the president lives, if I'm not mistaken, or where he has his office, where he's housed. This is the Khan's palace in Baku. And look at the foundation here. This is one of the more egregious examples of what I would call like a mud-flooded building. I mean, you can almost just imagine the water pouring in here. And why would you ever construct it this way in the event of rain? Just don't make no damn sense. This filter's a little too ridiculous on this for me to see what's going on, but yeah, water features. Water features everywhere you look. Old water features and old ruins. This is inside of a museum, I believe. And you see this sort of striped Moroccan sort of pattern. I say these words like Moroccan and Byzantine, and these are sort of these generic architecture terms that we're told. To me, they're kind of meaningless since you see them everywhere. And I think personally, a lot of this leads me to the conclusion, as I've mentioned 1,000 times before, that there was another culture, another sort of civilization that was widespread across this world that shares so much of the same symbolism, architectural styles, and a lot of what we see is repurposed versions of that. Look at this bad boy. Even this ancient fort, whatever they're calling it, you can see the red and white stripes in the brick. And I just don't think that is accidental, folks. I really don't. I think that a lot of this stuff is just repurposed from an old era. Here's your synagogue, although it's outside of these little stars here. It wouldn't look any different than anything else, really. You put a little brand on it in the top, so they become something else. Funny how that works, huh? These buildings are also interchangeable, cathedrals and mosques and whatnot. This is a beautiful little array of buildings. Up here in the mountains, you got forts galore. This is the first building of the government of the Democratic Republic, something, embassy perhaps? I'm not sure. Fortress of Paris, this one is called. Forgive me if I'm butchering the language, but I don't even know what to make of this. With these little windows cut in here, I find it hard to believe anyone would carve this into this mountain so crookedly and haphazardly. I don't even know how to explain this. This is just such a strange mystery to me. Here we have another mosque, a beautiful sandstone color. An old church here on the outskirts. Very weathered. And this is a quintessential Armenian church style which makes sense due to the proximity to Armenia, like I disclosed earlier with the constant conflict between various regions that they have. I understand there's some sort of Maidan-style coup going on right now in Armenia, which does not bode well for that land. Maybe it'll be the next Ukraine, but either way, sometimes it takes people a long time to learn these things. This is actually the Ganja State Philharmonic Hall, so it's like an opera house or a concert hall. Absolutely stunning. The statuary up here, I mean, you can find this just about anywhere in Europe. Odd to find it here. Ruins like this all out there in the forest are just full of mystery. I always love finding these and speculating about them. An old cathedral here, looking very old world indeed. And here is the inside of a mosque after it was recently renovated. Looks like they kept it true to form. Maybe the flooring might be different, but I mean, just that same brickwork. I mean, it looks like a cistern in here. I don't know what these buildings were initially for, but I doubt they were churches. It almost looks like a power plant to me. Gutted out, hollowed out power plant filled with water, and it just did something different, you know? Just did something different than we're led to believe. This is the outside of a museum, and you know, the reason I even post these is because I find it odd that museums and schools and libraries look the same everywhere you go. It's just in post offices, like why do we have this universal style for these buildings? Unless, perhaps, there's some sort of powers that be that orchestrate some of this stuff and dictate some of these terms on a national scale. We just think it's an organic thing. The longer I live, the more I learn. The conclusion I repeatedly come to is that there is so much of this world that is not organic at all. And even the word culture is kind of a dead giveaway, but most of these things are engineered. Most of our thoughts and patterns and even our habits are engineered. They're engineered. I can't tell you who pulls these levers of power. That's just what I believe. Well, look at this beauty. Man, looks like space age. It is what more and more people, I believe, are increasingly starting to come to the conclusion of. The Institute of Manuscripts. Wow. They couldn't come up with a more boring building name than that, could they? Maybe it's lost in translation. But a very Victorian era. Look, here's a better look at that palace. What a stunner. What an absolute stunner. Not sure what this initially was, but that is a lot of friggin' bricks. My God, that's crazy. What kind of erosion took place here? What kind of a thing happened there? That is absolutely bonkers. There's an old bridge here. Constructed, looks like almost entirely of brick. Just beautiful stuff. Another star fort looking like it's got the river rerouted and cut into about half of it. The massive amount of power that a cataclysm had to be to affect such massive change that we see detailed all over everywhere we go is just staggering. You know, it is mind-blowing. Just the sheer amount of damage and devastation that water can do when unleashed. It is very humbling. Even just in your own backyard, the fact that water just erodes concrete and cement and foundations, and it seems like such a harmless, neutral substance. It is pretty impressive. And I believe that a lot of the old world, this little mud flutter here, had so much more to do with water as an energy source and a source of healing and power that we have gotten away from, and it's almost ignored, almost shunned as much as possible. But granted, of course, ocean waterways, river waterways are huge parts of many people's lives. I'm aware of that. But on a day-to-day basis, things like fountains are just taken for granted. Dams, hydroengineering, it's sort of out of sight, out of mind for many people. It's just something that occurs sort of off-screen, behind the scenes. And it is pretty nuts to think that water alone and the force of water alone still gives us the majority of our electricity today. It's pretty nuts. And that includes nuclear, which a lot of nuclear turbines are essentially steam powered. So I wonder if these old world folks just were a little bit more in touch with all that, this prior civilization that I suspect existed before all this. And look at that brick building. Wow. That's an old fortress out here, overtaken, and there's so many of these. It's just, it makes you wonder, how many forts did men build? This is an old museum, art museum, a national art museum, I guess. It was someone's house initially, if you can imagine that. They converted it into a museum. The same sort of nude women and Greek statuary that we see everywhere. This one's literally surrounded by water. This is the Museum of Literature. Wouldn't be much out of place anywhere in Europe. The old synagogue building here, looking like a Greek temple. Now look at the foundation on this one. No way they would build it that way, intentionally. Nope, something must have changed, folks. Something must have changed. Here's a palace here of an old Haji, whose name I won't try to embarrass myself by pronouncing. The Palace of Happiness, this one's called. And it does look like It's a Small World from Disneyland, which, depending on your level of awareness, is either the happiest or the creepiest place on Earth. That's up for you to decide. Happy for the ignorant, I guess. The Palace of Shirvanshah. I don't even know why I'm trying to pronounce this stuff. I probably butchered it. Anyway, it's a palace. This is inside of that palace. What looks like a temple or a mausoleum. I wonder if it's part of an old fountain. They used to power the place. Hell, I don't know. Old ruins galore. If you see this out in the middle of Illinois, they'll tell you it's an old water mill or the ruins of an old factory. And you do see those things out in the middle of rural America, and you are told things like that. Look at that mosaic tile work on that. This is a very interesting sort of blue tile that I really have only seen predominantly in Iran, a little bit in Afghanistan, and a little bit in Azerbaijan. So it must be just kind of native to the area, but that is just such an amazing design. So beautiful. This looks like an industrial building or a grain silo, but I doubt that it is. Who knows what it is? A water tower, maybe? Just stunning. Stunning mosque. Here's a Ramana castle, an old castle ruin, allegedly. Again, I suspect that a lot of these old buildings were more industrial in nature. And maybe people moved into, called them a castle or a fort, but they're not really laid out to be residential. Most of them, the layout, it doesn't make any sense. That's a beauty. And just look at the foundation on that one. Give me a fucking break. Why would you build this like this? Absolutely ridiculous. I don't buy it, folks. I squint and sneer at all things here. I didn't mean to rhyme. There's a fortress, Star Fortress, Palace Mosque. Another beautiful mosque here that could double for a lighthouse, and I wonder if some of them were at one point. This is the synagogue of Ashkenazi Jews in Baku. Very popular subject these days, and I'll leave it at that. I will let you pontificate on that. Though I will say, I guess, that oftentimes, the evil elite overlords that we have that are behind the scenes will hijack entire races and religions and ethnic groups and nations, whatever it takes. Whoever they can use as a patsy or a front to solidify their place as our leaders, as the sneaky Phoenicians, whoever they hide behind. Just remember, it could be you next, or it could be you now. They could be hiding behind you right now, using you as a front, so that when the people come with the pitchforks, they take down the patsies. I'm just saying. You never know. And these are stunning buildings. As usual, when I do these, I get a little bit like building fatigue, or just end up saying the same things about the same buildings over and over because they're so amazing. There's so many of them. So sometimes I cut them short, and I might do that here with this one here. I don't know. Look at this fortress. What a beauty. And I'll bet you, if you take a panoramic of it, it's in the shape of a star. This is a residence, government official house. Another old mosque here. Man, I just love that brickwork and that tile work. But again, look at this one. I mean, even this one, you got this strange basement subfloor down here, and then looks like that was the main floor. And you then hastily add this staircase on to reach what used to be the second floor. You just see that everywhere. I mean, I know we point this out all the time, but you see it everywhere. Why in all parts of the world do we have the same symbolism, the same building structure, the same type of forts everywhere? It makes no sense. These people should have nothing in common with the people in Peru. They should have never met. But yet, here we are, folks, with the same type of wall and masonry and construction. I doubt this was a fort. This almost looks like a culvert. But what do I know, huh? I'm just some friggin' guy on the internet. Who knows, Who gives a damn what I think? The beautiful old castle there on the hill. An old Armenian church. Not very large, I don't think. It's hard to tell. But yeah, there's so many of these fortresses. And a lot of these are in Baku. Here's one that the trees have dominated in their very slow-paced war against all of humanity. One day they might win. But as it stands right now, most people, like this guy over here, he's not even aware. This tree's coming for you, bro. It's just, he's doing it real slow. So, you'll clearly have moved by the time it gets there. Down here, this type of building structure here with this dome, I mean, if you remove this dome right here, this could be anywhere in America. This could be any downtown Main Street in America, or anywhere else for that matter. And these are just stunning, these brick buildings. What a beautiful place. We looked at that one already. Just gorgeous stuff here. Edificio in Baku, we're told. Whatever that means. Another foundational strange thing. What does that mean? Hotel, possibly? I don't know. I don't speak the language. These are mausoleums, I'll tell you that much, because I was told that much. The outskirts of town here. I don't know the difference between a mausoleum and a kill, honestly, and they look very, very similar, but we just trust what we're told here, folks, right? Isn't that how we do it? And look at this one. Look at this compound. What is going on here? What a cool place. And I wonder if this is underground. These are the inside of domes, and once you go underground, you are inside the buildings that have the domes as the houses. I don't know. But signs of a mud flood everywhere. Brick everywhere. Millions of bricks. More bricks than the eyes can see. Here is that same cathedral we looked at earlier, I believe, but this is 1905, we're told. 1905, and it's still got signs of the ground being uneven. 1905. How about that? That is beautiful. The stairs that lead to a tower. And this is an ancient Alban temple, and you can see at one point it was covered with sort of a coating painted red, or like a stained red, but underneath it's just brick, folks. It's just brick everywhere you go. Wow. And there's a lot of friggin' bricks. And where did the bricks all come from? Here's an Armenian church here. That one kind of looks like a tilt frame shot. This is actually in the area note that was formerly Artsakh. And this apparently, we are told, is a castle ruin, which is very interesting because when you point these out anywhere else and you say, hey, it looks like a castle, people say, yeah, but it's not. It's just erosion. But here they're telling you, now this is actually an old castle ruin. So I don't know what that means about the rest of the places that you drive by that look like this. I don't know. It does beg some questions, though, don't it? When you see stuff like this out in the wild and you tell your friends, hey, it looks like a castle, and they're like, yeah, but it's just a rock. Is it, though? Is it a rock, Jerry? Because Azerbaijan would like to disagree with you. Okay, so here's a photograph that I actually need to bring up some other time about faking photographs of the past. This is a picture of Azerbaijan. This is an aviation officer school, and here is why not that I think this is fake at all. This is absolutely real. It's stunning, by the way. Stunning buildings, the whole thing. But look at the faces of these people. Look at the paste jobs on these people. Like these dead-eyed, like these are like pictures of dolls or mannequins that they are like pasting over these actual people's faces. People do not look like that. So I don't know if they were blurry and the artist, I guess, was trying to humanize them more. But see how that one looks real, kind of? Look at this one. Looks like a rubber mask. Or these guys. So I don't know who these people initially were, but I'm guessing that these faces are fake. And for some reason, they want these people to look this way, this complexion, when they actually don't. I don't know how else this can possibly be explained. And you see this all over history. Here's another one. Same with the offers aviation school. Look at these faces do not belong in this picture. They were pasted. They do not match at all. And this is very interesting to me. Look at this, guys. Oh, horrible. Or that one. Like, this is not an issue of photography. Pictures don't work that way, where everything else is in a one type of lighting, and then the face is completely different. So I'm not sure who is doctoring these historical photos, but it is troubling. This is the inside of a theater, clearly. The beautiful star up here in the roof. And that chandelier's got to be worth about $1 billion. What a beautiful building. Also in Baku, this is a drama theater outside. Looking very Greek influence. This is the university, the Azerbaijan State Economic University main building. So even the colleges look like the colleges everywhere else. Who would have thought, huh? This is another theater, a musical theater outside. A very classic look. Absolutely stunning buildings. And why? Why do all the universities and theaters all around the world look exactly the same? Why? Well, maybe this is why. Here, even in Azerbaijan, you got your little phoenix here, your little Phoenician logo. Yoo-hoo! Just reminding you, who really built all this stuff. And while I don't believe actually Phoenicians built some of this, I believe that the eagle was pretty much the dominant, this culture's sort of dominating symbol, and it's been repurposed as a phoenix, rising from the ashes of this civilization that collapsed. And that's, of course, the phoenix. It's a bird rising from the ashes. And so these eagles are kept on buildings or added later as a sort of tongue-in-cheek reference. I don't know. That's just what I see. This used to be the old theater. Clearly, it's seen better days. This is an old mill, what we're told is an old mill in Baku. And a carpet market out here in the 19th century. Just selling carpets outside of this beautiful building. This is a mausoleum. We're told is a mausoleum. Kind of odd right here in the middle of town. Is an old church. In the late 1800s, this photograph. Just look how tiny those people are compared to that. Imagine constructing that. It's just wild. Very, very cool. This is a different church, Church of the Blessed Virgin Mary's Immaculate Conception. Got your usual little horse and carriage parked out front to show you the time, wink, wink. Little timepiece there to show you what this old power plant's being reconverted as. Looks like a cell phone tower. By my estimation, this is an old church here. It's got a new haircut. Letting it grow a little wild, These days, stunning architecture everywhere you go. That fountain, beautiful fountains. And look at this vine. How cool is that? Just stretching all the way up. It's basically following the water drain or tree or whatever this is. It's so cool. Told you, the trees are coming for you, folks. Look at that beauty. Absolute stunner. Stunner after stunner. Is that the same one from a different side? I don't know. I don't think so. No, it's not. It's just beautiful buildings, though, man. Absolutely beautiful. This is the government. Oh, yeah, we looked at that one earlier. Looked at that one. We looked at that one. Another star fort here. This guy standing here next to the star fort just to show you the size and scale of these blocks. Absolutely preposterous to think that these were quarried and carried and moved. In fact, it seems to me like you can even see that these are actually brick on the sides. Well, I don't know why they would have grooves like this. I don't know. Something seems suspicious to me, though. Looks like concrete blocks or brick blocks, not just quarried out of one solid stone. It seems impossible. But based on that grainy picture, who could tell? This is a Lutheran church in the city named Ganja, which is kind of funny that there's a city named Ganja. I mean, maybe they pronounce it differently. But where I'm from, Ganja is something totally different, This is a different Philharmonic Hall in Ganja. A beautiful building. Maybe it's the same one. We might have looked at it already. This is a hotel made out of complete brick. Nothing but brick. Billions and billions of bricks, but no sign of a brickyard anywhere. There's a Ganja museum. This old British-style, English-style rooftops. The mansard roof, I believe they call it. Look at this recessed doorway down here. Like, why? If you got all this space, why would you make the doorway down here unless, the doorway was here first before the elevation change? Riddle me that, people of the world. Look at the size of that. And you're going to put plastic patio furniture out front of this thing? Dude, we saw that once in Belgium. It pissed me off irrationally. I'm not as mad today, so consider yourself lucky, plastic furniture putter out there in Azerbaijan. I'm not sure. You see this on the side of the road, you literally think this is nothing, but no, according to them, this is ruins. And I think they're right. It probably is ruins. So if I were you, I'd be squinting suspiciously at every clump of dirt I see on the side of the road, because you never know. There's an old cathedral here. Look at the ground around it. Like, just no road leading up to it or nothing. Just dirt. Seems unlikely. Excuse me? How the bleep did you get in my slideshow? I have no explanation for that. What in the... Alright, whatever. We're told these are old fortress gates. The Museum of Archaeology and Ethnography. I'm not sure if someone blasted a hole in the middle of them or why the gates are just separate like that, but it is what it is. Here's a synagogue in Baku. You guys caught me. Oh no, my guilty pleasure of looking at nude male Barbie dolls has been exposed for all the world to see. Oh, sorry. That's just ridiculous. I have literally no explanation for why that was in the slideshow. Or this. Oh, man. I'm sure at some point I lost some download in the wrong folder for some joke. Well, here it is. A long forgotten joke. The punchline has now been revealed. Anyway, this is a stunning building here. I have no idea what it is. Oh, I wish I wasn't so grainy because that looks fucking gorgeous. Oh, man. Wow. Now I know I'm smoking something. That looks absolutely beautiful. God. I mean, you can just retire after doing that. Like, yep, that's my life's work. It's better than what you guys ever did. Your life. That is so beautiful. What an absolutely stunning building. Oh, give me more of that. I'll take all that you got. Absolutely wonderful. I'll take all you got of that stuff right there. This is a military hospital. And it looks pretty classical until you kind of get to this upper glass part. I don't know what happened there. They uglified it, you know what I'm saying? I think we saw that one earlier. There's another museum of some sort. And an empty lantern. I wonder what was here. A bell? Who knows? A light? A crystal? Lots of theories floating around out there. Many of them quite good, actually. There's a lot of duplicates here. Here's an old monastery. I guess I guess if it's very old and just decrepit and falling apart out in the middle of the hills, you just call it a monastery. Seems to be the idea. This is a Norwegian embassy. I'm not sure why there's mannequins in front of a Norwegian embassy, but maybe they only have the top floor. This is an old bath in Ganja, we're told, an old bathhouse, and an old school. This is old Baku, an old view of the hotel, and man, looks no different than old America. Looks no different from the old World's Fairs type stuff. You know, that is to be remarked upon, I believe. You know, this is an interesting part of the world. It's a world that most people don't get to see. And so I think it's very surprising to find so many of the same tropes and architectural styles and features and construction techniques and symbolism and even excuses for some of it that you see everywhere in the world. So that is the peak in Azerbaijan. What is that, an Easter bunny? Okay. I don't know what that is. Kind of creepy. But I bet you everywhere, every stone you turn, this is a ruin of an old palace, Ganja Khan's palace. In 1924, this was a garden, some garden, palace garden. Absolutely stunning. And yeah, what an amazing place. As usual, no surprises here at all. Well, I guess the surprises are, this is 1920, this is the surprises are that we see the same stuff everywhere, the same beauty, the same features, with a little bit of different, flair to the region, some of the tile work, some of the mosaic work, but a lot of it very, very similar. This is a 19th century St. Bartholomew Orthodox Church next to a big pile of rubble, and whatever this is, my lord, look at the thing. This is absolutely amazing. And I don't know, did they just draw some of these people in? Like, this guy just drawn in? A water buffalo pulling a cart? I don't know. Doesn't really match the clarity of everything else, does it? So here you have a truck, and over here you have a water buffalo pulling a cart. I don't know. I don't know what to make of some of these old pictures, but this is Azerbaijan, or at least Azerbaijan through one lens. It's an old theater here. And this is a theater in 1913. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. Surprised that I'm not surprised. This is the tomb of the prophet Noah. Various towers here. An old trade school, 1904. And look at the construction on this. Windows Stone House, we're told. We're told this is called a stone house. Well, obviously, that's a great name for it. I mean, this is really kind of bizarre type of structure, but that is pretty cool. I'd say that's pretty unique. You don't see much like that. Look at the beautiful street front here. And what a beautiful place. And as usual, it's a place I would love to visit. Don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity. This crazy world where they really try to convince us not to travel and try to deter us from moving and getting to know each other as much as possible. Anything to keep us divided is a stunner. My lord. But that, my folks, is Azerbaijan. Look at that beauty. And it looks like it's been beat down, and are they rebuilding it? Sort of looks like it, huh? The scaffolding over here looks like it's been destroyed. And got a whole bunch of new people in here. All right, a bunch of new people you just dropped off. They're gonna move in and rebuild everything and rename it. Who knows? I don't know what to think of this world. It's a crazy place. But that, folks, is Azerbaijan. I promise not to keep you waiting as long for the next bout of randomness, and I'll leave you with a beautiful dome, this modern building, with this old world floor. And I hope you all are doing very, very well, and I will see you soon.